Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am Caspian and I read a lot of books, mainly library books. And I'm here today to talk about my two most recent reads. And in my latest video, or my latest reading update, I talked about the second book in the Howl series. And I'm here today to talk about the third book in the Howl series, which I think means I have finished this series. This is the third book in the Howl series, and this is House of Many Ways by Diana Wynne Jones, and as I said, I read the second book recently as well, so now I have finished off this series, I believe. And if you remember when I talked about the second book, Castle in the Air, I talked about how I wish there had been more of Sophie and Howl, and that the last quarter or the third of the book, I wish it would have been more like that overall. And one thing that made me like this book from the get-go was that we got a little bit more of that. It's more in this book, it's more evident that we are a part of the same world, and it didn't feel as out of place as Castle in the Air did in the beginning. So in this book we follow, let's see if I, Charmaine Charmaine, often misnamed as Charming Charmaine Baker. She's the female main character in this book, and she is asked to take care of her uncle's or great uncle by marriage's house while he recuperates with the elves. So that is the House of Many Ways. So she's the caretaker of the House of Many Ways in this book, and along the journey of the book, she meets Sophie, and she meets Howl, and she meets the king, and yeah, I don't want to talk too much about it. If you have never read it and want to read it and have no idea what it's about, I don't want to spoil it for you. But so that part I liked more. I liked that we got to feel the ambience and the air of this world that Diana Wynne Jones has built from the get-go. However, I did give this book 3.5 stars, which is what I have given the second book as well, now that I've thought about it a bit more. So the second book gets a 3.5 stars, a 3 stars on Goodreads from me, and this the same, because I just couldn't with the female main character. So I was so annoyed by her. I just didn't like her. And someone on Fable asked me what I thought about the book, and I said, and what I thought about the female main character, and I said, I don't think we would be friends, since I don't see the point of her personality, the choices the author made when creating Charmaine as the female main character. I simply can't give it a higher than a 3.5. So yeah. And the second book that I'm going to talk about is Looking Glass by Christina Henry. This is also a third book in a series, I think. I think it's the third book, yeah. This is the third book in the Chronicles of Alice by Christina Henry. This is a fantasy horror. So the first book I read, like House of Many Ways, that I talked about, it's a fantasy, and I think it's middle grade or something. This is an adult fantasy horror, and I love it. I'm just gonna say it. It's a 5 star from me. Again, I have rated all of the books in the Chronicles of Alice 5 star. That's just the way it is. And I really enjoy the writing style of these books. And I'm not gonna talk too much about it, and I don't think I can talk too much about it, because in this book, it's the third book, but it's a collection of novellas. It says like this: in 4 new novellas, Christina Henry returns to the world of Alice and Red Queen, where magic runs as freely as blood. And I would say that there's a fine line between the word novellas and then a book with parts. So the 4 novellas in this book are not that separate for me to want to. I would have liked to call them parts, 4 parts of a book, and not 4 novellas, but I can understand the choice of saying it's 4 novellas. There's 2 reasons why I wouldn't class them as novellas from my point of view. The first is that they are not that separate from each other. They are a continuation of the storyline in the first book, Alice, and in the second book, Red Queen. The difference is that these are like chapters from their lives. So in all of the books we follow Alice and Hatcher, and in this book we do as well. It's one of the stories that is following another family member of Alice's instead of Alice, but it's still connected to Alice, and she makes an appearance in that story. So I think they are too interconnected with each other to be called separate novellas in one. So this, to me, this is a book with 4 novellas or 4 parts, and not an anthology or something like that. That to me would be a collection of short stories or novellas. So I just want to make that, I just want to, let you know my point of view. And that is important because these are the reasons I believe you have to read the 2 first books to read this one. First of all, the first 2 books are spoiled a bit in this book. There are references to the other 2 books and those storylines in this book that both spoil but also can be confusing if you haven't read those books. So I do think that you should read them in order. Alice, Red Queen, and Looking Glass. I did enjoy very much to keep following Alice and Hatcher. I loved following that second family member. I think it was in the first story of the book. So yeah, it was. So I really enjoyed it. And one thing that I really enjoy with Christina Henry is her writing style. It's a 5-star writing style for me. And in one of the short stories, we are in a setting of like a fighting club. And that is not my scene. I don't like fighting clubs or boxing clubs or wrestling, or that's not my scene. But Christina Henry made me engaged in the story and made me want to follow each and every blow that the fighters gave each other because of how she writes it. And that is a feat. And so she kept me engaged. And even though I, put the book down, took the book up again, and I picked it up again, I could easily just follow it because it just dragged me in. Her writing style is what drags me into the story each time. And I am so glad I read it. I'm so glad I got to know the parts in this because it's a mix of current day and also flashback episodes of Hatcher and Alice. So yeah, I really enjoyed this and I recommend it. If you liked Alice and if you liked Red Queen, there's absolutely no reason for you to dodge this one, because it really connects all the dots, and the ending is, in my opinion, perfect. The ending is perfect. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. 5-star. You see all my tabs. This is a book I would like to be able to purchase before I return it to the library. It's not gonna happen. I'm gonna return it in like 2 or 3 days. But I'm definitely gonna save my notes on it. And with this one, since it's a 4-part book or 4 novellas, when I write it in my reading journal, I want to save a quote from each of the stories so that I have those when I look back into my reading journal. I can be like, oh yeah, that was that story, so that because that's one of the reasons I keep a reading journal, is to jog my own memory and to remember what I read and to look back on my favorite quotes or favorite parts. So thank you for joining me in this reading update. I hope you have a lovely day and week, and that you enjoy your reading. See you in another video. Tjingeling!